If you are a huge fan of the first Dead Rising, you have probably spent a considerable amount of time staring at the box art of this game, because it's just so damn interesting. And of course, the same goes for the other regional box arts like the European and Japanese versions. However, the most commonly known box art probably being the North American version, simply because it was the first version released. Now, all three of these box arts are very different from each other, and this isn't a debate on which is better, that's totally your preference. However, the thing is, out of all three box arts, there is only one that has lots of history to it, and it just so happens that it's for some reason with the American box art. If I was to tell you that this random image of Dead Rising in early 2006 was used in the background for the American box art, you would probably think I'm crazy. Or not. The interesting thing about the American box art is that it highly consists of images previously taken during development, such as promotional images, beta images, concept art, all mixed together into one interesting photo. The sad thing about the American cover art is that Capcom has never officially released a complete untouched version of the cover art to the public. They have, however, over the course of the last 12 years, released several different versions of the artwork, cropped in several different places, but we simply don't have the full image, so we will have to use multiple scans of the artwork for this video. So, getting right into it, the most apparent thing in this box art is Frank West with the TV. It's basically the centerpiece of the artwork. Now this is new art that was made specifically for this cover art. Hell, even these renders of zombies were created specifically for this image. But if we ignore those few things, we will start to notice things that aren't new art. So let's direct our attention behind Frank. Here we can see the clock tower in Entrance Plaza, however you may notice it does not have the bee mascot on top. Now this is significant because in the early 2005 builds of Dead Rising, there was no bee on the clock. Now of course the reason this art doesn't have the bee isn't because the artwork was made in early 2005, it's because of their choice to use an early beta image from 2005 as the background for the cover art. This is that very background they used. It's from the Tokyo Game Show build, and we will be mentioning it quite a lot as it's used extensively in this background. And of course you'll notice there is no bee on the clock. Now if we look to the far left of Frank here, we can see zombies walking up the staircase and a few zombies on the upper level of the plaza. Where is this from? Again, that same TGS image. Now this is fine because clearly this is a good image to use for the background. It might be a little lazy to use existing beta images of their game, but whatever, it works. However, now we're going to dive into where it starts to get weird. Now here is an image of a very early 2006 build of Dead Rising, specifically pre-E3. You may notice it's in Paradise Plaza, but the cover art takes place in Entrance Plaza, doesn't it? So why am I showing you Paradise Plaza? Well, see, the American cover art is actually a mashup of many different parts of the mall. If we look back on the cover art and direct our attention to the far left, we can see a sign which says Final Winter Clearance, as well as what looks like the entrance to a store, and well, oddly enough, they took that from this image. You can see the Winter Clearance sign right there. We can even match up those blue overhang things here as well. The only way I was able to notice this is because the final game no longer has the final clearance signs, but rather it now says the Willamette Parkview Mall is the mall for me. So I was able to trace it back to this beta image, which, mind you, is the only image we have of beta Paradise Plaza, and I guess it was the only image Capcom had as well, since they used it. Now it gets even weirder because this is something you might not have even noticed on the American box art, but if we look on the top of the artwork, we will notice a set of windows in the background. But Entrance Plaza does not have any windows like this, not even close. And that's because these windows are taken straight from that beta Paradise Plaza image. Even the palm trees are still here. Yeah. Now if we look at the top left here, something pretty weird that they did is simply stuck a portion of that TGS entrance plaza image right here. You can see the floor and even some zombies. The perspective is so butchered. But I guess they just needed something to cram into this little spot, but it's kind of lazy. However, on the actual box art, this was cropped out. You can't really see that, but in this full extended shot, it looks awful. Now at the top of the image we can see a few stores that are clearly not supposed to be there. I mean, yes, of course, on the second level of Entrance Plaza there are stores up there, but not these. And you may actually recognize these stores because again, they are taken from somewhere completely different. If we look at this image of an early 2006 build, here we got a fairly early rendition of the food court. In the background you can actually see what was used, these two stores right here. However, that's not all they did. In order to match the shape of the mall, what they did was flip the picture over and pasted the two storefronts here. In fact, you could just barely make out the Dreams signage right here. They didn't even bother to design a new logo for it. It's kind of funny because in the food court, these are not stores, but rather tiny restaurants, and I mean tiny. But I guess they wanted Entrance Plaza to A, appear bigger than it actually was, and B, add some color into the plaza, since in reality, Entrance Plaza is fairly bland and not very colorful at all. Adding the Frozen Dream store added a bit of flair to this place, but it's kind of false marketing if you ask me. And I guess they really liked the color tone of the Frozen Dream signage because for some reason they pasted the ice cream logo onto the pillars behind the clock tower. Again, obviously to make this place seem more like a giant American Wonderland place, which makes you wonder why they didn't just use Wonderland Plaza for this image, since that is already a colorful place, but whatever. Entrance Plaza is very symbolic of Dead Rising. I mean, it's the main plaza, more or less. Also in the background, we get to see the only remaining usage of the green thug zombie. Now, if you don't know what this zombie is, I have a few videos explaining it, but basically this zombie has some really amazing beta history and is very iconic because in early 2005 there were two versions of the thug zombie, Hawaiian Yellow and Hawaiian Green, but for some reason they removed the green version from the game, and he was only used in that one very early build of the game, which we know as E3 2005. Despite being removed, it's amazing that they included him on the box art, kind of like a little homage to the game's history, and that they clearly hadn't forgotten about him. So that's about it. By now you're probably wondering, why did they Photoshop Entrance Plaza this extensively? Well, if you think about it, no matter how nice of a stage Entrance Plaza might be, the fact that they needed to add the Frozen Dream store in here proves that it is pretty bland and empty in here. There's nothing that really catches your eye in Entrance Plaza in terms of color, so using a shot like this to make the entire background to the cover art would make the art look fairly uneventful. Sure, maybe they went a bit overboard with the art, seeing as it's using parts of other plazas mashed together, but the important thing is that this box art is so iconic, it was able to warrant its own video on it. Hopefully someday Capcom will release the full, uncropped, insanely high quality render of the cover art, but until then, thanks for watching, and as always, subscribe for more.